First guest is Tom Ruggierio, Director of Sales for Commercial Plumbing, Omega Tech. Tom, thanks for coming on.
Nice meeting you, Steve.
Hey, listen, I've been reporting on this since 1990, so I think it's safe to say that the plumbing industry is a pretty conservative, high-bound group of individuals. I mean, most family businesses, I mean, if I'm the son or the daughter, I like a product that maybe my dad did and maybe my grandfather did. So what changes have you observed in the last 5 years in this kind of conservative, high-bound industry?
So Steve, unlike you, I've only been involved in the commercial plumbing industry for 9 years. But what I've seen in the last 5 years, compared to when I first started, is more of an openness with engineers and contractors to be more willing to look at new technologies. I think there's this, and I understand it because a lot of these plumbing things go behind the walls and they have to last a long time.
Right.
So nobody wants to take the risk of trying something that doesn't work out.
Exactly.
So, but some of the examples of successes we had is with CircuitSolver, which is a thermostatic balancing valve. Over the last few years, that's really gained major acceptance, where 8 years ago, people didn't even want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And another issue is some of these other products that I've seen basically gain acceptance is variable speed drives, tankless hot water heaters, intelligent faucets. All these types of devices now you can see every day that the plumbing engineers and contractors are starting to use them and starting to be more comfortable with them.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned CircuitSolver.
Yes.
What role has that played in the kind of the renaissance, I guess, of adopting new products for a traditional industry?
So, this is a personal feeling anyway, but for 10 years we've been promoting thermostatic balancing. And like I said, early on there was not much acceptance, but through all our efforts and our sales rep efforts in promoting and educating the community on thermostatic balancing valves, and we've had thousands of successful installations over the last few years. So I think that success basically has helped pave the way in some ways for these other technologies to gain acceptance. What I've heard sometimes was if we weren't successful with CircuitSolver, if there were bad installations and things like that, would the engineering community now be reticent to try other technologies because they said, okay, I dipped my toe in the water and it didn't really work out that well. Fool me once, don't fool me twice kind of a thing.
Sure.
So, so I think in those small ways, I think CircuitSolver helped pave the way for that acceptance.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, we're at ASPE. It's the first convention they've had, I think, for 4 years, certainly since before COVID.
Yeah, right.
I could be wrong about the years, but I haven't had a chance to look at any seminars that are coming up, but I'm sure Legionnaires disease is going to be a topic for more than one. So what have you seen in Legionella cases over the years that you yourself have, I guess, that your company has helped address?
So, again, along the lines of what's happened over the last 5 years, there's been a bigger push with different entities looking for Legionella mitigation, right? And so what we've seen more recently is everyone was doing these in their own little silos. The engineers are looking at Legionella in their own way, the physicians and scientists in their own way, and the healthcare facilities in their own way. What I've seen recently now is more of a multidisciplinary effort to address Legionella. Like for instance, I was just at a certification class for ASPE 12080, which is basically Legionella safety and water management. That certification class is typically done by healthcare workers. In the class I was in, not only were there healthcare workers taking that class, but there was also engineers, manufacturers, scientists, everyone not just trying to understand Legionella, but understand everyone else's issues with Legionella and how can they basically solve those problems.
Good.
And by the way, I passed that certification.
I was going to ask you that. That was my next question. And, I mean, your product itself, how does it address the dangers of Legionella? I mean, can you give me a 10,000-foot view of that?
So, I mean, basically, one of the problems with Legionella in hot water systems, is the fact that the Legionella can grow in the piping systems. And one of the ways to basically mitigate that is to basically use very hot water to kind of kill the Legionella bacteria. So we have some valves with CircuitSolver for thermal disinfection. And so basically what you're able to do then is hit the whole plumbing system with very hot water, 160 and higher, to help kill the Legionella.
Okay.
And then also, just our normal operating valves is, one of the things now, you go around and talk to the engineers, and they basically, like we talked about earlier, old school and things like that. So one of the things with the engineers, they have a historic way of doing things, and they're very busy. So a lot of times they'll take the easy way out. They'll use a lot of rules of thumb.
Yeah.
Right? With Legionella these days, be more, on everyone's radar. You can't be like that. You got to be more exacting about what you're doing. And so CircuitSolver is a product that basically will control that water in those systems pretty much exactly like you want versus traditional methods of doing it where, manual balancing valves, you're trying to make an adjustment, see if it works. If conditions change, the valve is fixed, and CircuitSolver will basically be dynamic and address those kinds of conditions.
Good. So, from talking to you, it sounds like what is a very traditionally minded industry is still kind of definitely open to new ideas. You mentioned the ASE, where people are from not just healthcare, but also engineers, contractors, manufacturers.
When I travel around the country talking to engineers, one of the things I saw was a lot of them were saying, like, okay, the healthcare facilities want us to do something to mitigate Legionella. So they're asking us what we should do, and we don't know what we should do. And so there's all this back and forth, people not pointing fingers, but just not understanding and looking to each other for answers.
Right.
Yeah.
We're both kind of coming together, at least, on this particular topic.
Yep.
So, with that in mind, what's going to happen in the next few years for your company and
for commercial plumbing?
Yeah, for Legionella. I mean, Legionella's on our mind, I guess, but there's other things.
Yes.
But where do you see everything coming into play?
Other things for the plumbing industry anyway is, number one, there's going to be more of a push towards integrating plumbing systems into building management systems. The HVAC industry has been doing that for years.
Yeah, electrical too.
Yes, and it's time for the plumbing industry to catch on with that. So that's one of the big things we see happening. Also, we're a very data-driven society. You see it in our everyday lives. Like professional sports teams, for instance, right? They have analytics groups now, and they're basically just gathering tons of data, synthesizing it, and then basically using that for game day strategies and things like that. Right?
Yeah, the whole Moneyball thing.
Yes, right.
Exactly.
And so, the reality is you can't improve what you can't measure. So that's going to be some more of the things that we see in the plumbing industry. Integrated with BMS systems, gathering data, making decisions based on that to improve the overall, whether it's for Legionella or just making sure you get hot water when you turn on your faucet.
Right.
And then leading into that will also be automation processes. For instance, CircuitSolver is a great example of an automation process where traditionally balancing a hot water system is done with a manual balancing valve. You have people going around adjusting the valves. That whole process now is automated with CircuitSolver because all you do is put the valve in and it does all the work. So you eliminate all that labor that to balance the system. We also eliminate which a lot of the plumbing contractors really hate when it happens, is to have to go back and rebalance the system. So CircuitSolver is a dynamic valve, so it changes with changing conditions. So that's just another example of an automation process.
Right. So things have become more smarter.
More smarter, yes.
Right.
We're even starting to see in all these different devices that we're talking about, more and more intelligence in those devices.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you can't measure what you can't.
You can't improve.
You can't improve what you can't measure.
Right.
And in order to do that, you have to have things that are smart with the data behind it or delivering it to you. Yeah. I'm curious. I've heard that sentiment that plumbing is kind of way behind in terms of HVAC, electrical. Why do you think that is?
I just think it's the nature of the industry in that, plumbing is basically, I'm sure a lot of the plumbing engineers will probably disagree, but it's more of a single modality type thing. When you talk about HVAC, right, you have plumbing, you have piping, you have air, you have electronics, you have all these different modalities in there. And I just think by nature, the types of people you see in HVAC, it's more of a broader spectrum of engineers and stuff like that there. And so I think because of that, there is more of that crossbreeding between engineers and more of that openness and interest in kind of moving on with the technology.
Okay. So my last question is, what can PHCP Pros readers expect from your company in the coming year? I think maybe you answered some of it with smart technology. What else might you have beyond the mind?
So number one, we're going to continue to be the #1 provider of thermostatic balancing valves, period. Our overall goal long-term is just to be the #1 producer of balancing valves, thermostatic or otherwise. And we're going to continue with our thought leadership. We're basically going to continue writing articles, application notes, participating in local ASPE chapter events. We're participating in ASSE committees and ASPE committees and things like that. You know, right now, recently there's been a lot of competitors coming out in the market. And Steve, my mother used to always say to me, imitation is the highest form of flattery.
Yes.
So right now what we can safely say is there's a lot of other manufacturers out there that are really flattering CircuitSolver, you know. And we appreciate the competition. I think it keeps us on our toes, keeps us moving forward.
Absolutely.
But the other thing it does is validate what we've known for 10 years, that thermostatic balancing is the way to go. And this is just another validation of it. So I wish the competitors a lot of luck. They have a long way to go. We've been doing it for 10 years. We've been doing thermostatic valves in general for 40 years, and we're the only plumbing company that I know that actually designs and fabricates our own thermostatic actuator. So I wish them a lot of luck. I think they have a long way to go.
All right. Well,
and as we speak right now, our engineers are back there developing new products for 2023.
so you're well ahead, and you got new stuff coming up that your competition doesn't really know that much about yet. So
Right.
I think you're safely in the lead for now.
Yes, right.
Good.
We just got to stay on our toes.
Well, good. Well, thanks for coming on
Yep.
with us today.
Yep.
I know you are in booth 307.
307.
Definitely go to that.
Yep.
And appreciate the time today.
Thank you,
Thank
Steve.
you,
It was
Tom.
really fun.
Thank you.